Have you done many other interviews?
Nah, that's why I was excited for this one. This my first podcast, so yeah, had to do it.
Very cool. Yeah, like we were talking before, and really quick, I'll just give a brief introduction. Hey, everybody, my name is Chris. This is Chee-Tash, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, um, Xavier from New School Stories. Xavier, do you want to really quick just give a brief introduction of what you do in your YouTube channel that you have?
Okay, so basically, I just I I I cover all types of stories in hip hop from all different places. I've done videos on Detroit, Chicago, New York, Memphis. I've covered like shows like Everyday Struggle, just everything, anything involved with hip hop. I'll like cover it. I'll go pretty in depth with it, and yeah, just try to make quality videos.
And these are the type of videos that you do are some of my favorite videos to watch on YouTube. And there's some other channels that I can't get enough of, like Hip Hop Madness does some great.
Yeah,
Um,
I like them.
yeah, they do great video essays. There's a guy or two guys, Diverse Mentality. They do great video essays. There's a guy, British guy, Traplore Ross. Love his
Oh yeah.
stuff. Um, and the amount of, I just really appreciate the amount of research that you do and that goes into your videos. And like we were saying before, I had started recording. I watched that first video of yours, and I just went, just write down write down the whole catalog.
Yeah,
How
glad
like
to hear that.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Um, how did you like? What was the inspiration for the channel? How did it get its start?
Like you were mentioning, like a lot of those channels, I watched them too. Like I've liked Hip Hop Madness for a while, Trap Lord Ross, Trap Geek. I'm a fan of Trap Geek's videos. So it was basically like I felt like I felt like Trap Lord Ross and Trap Geek. Those are the two main ones I watched. But I feel like they covered like the street aspects of like stuff. Like so if they cover New York drill, they're covering more like the actual beefs and like the actual gang banging behind it. But me, I wanted to focus more on the music. Like I'll mention like the gang parts because that's a part of drill, but like that's not the focus. I like to focus on the music. And then like I produce too. So like I know I have like more knowledge when it comes to like beats and like what'll make a certain like sound, what makes like that area, what makes their sound like their unique sound. So I like to go into that more. So all of that like it just combined in me making the channel.
And was this relatively recently that you started?
Yeah, yeah. May 15th will be a year. That'll
Wow,
be the first year from a year from my first upload.
wow.
So
And in 1 year, how many subscribers are you at right now? It was like 7,000 ish.
yeah, like a little over 7,000 right now.
Like that. That's pretty good for a year. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. When I started, that's what I told myself. I was like, because I've done YouTube channels before, like I said with the beats, and it'll be slow, it'll be a grind. So I like I'll be consistent with this for a year, and I'll see how far it gets me in that time, and then it just really took off. So I'm definitely gonna keep keep up with it.
And what was the origin of the name that you chose, New School Stories?
Um, that's mainly what I like. I mainly I knew I wanted to do storytelling, like document stuff, but I wasn't initially I was trying to keep it like more open than just hip hop. I was trying to do like everything, but like the videos that really took off for hip hop, so it just ended up turning into like mostly hip hop stories. But I tried to keep it open to like I was trying to keep it open to everything at first, and that's where the name comes from. It just sounds like open. It could be about anything like current current culture.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
very,
So
very cool. Now, the icon or that you use for your channel, is that from, it looks like what's his name from the Boondocks.
yeah,
Is that what that is?
yeah, that's Huey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Huey.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah. Big Boondocks fan. So needed something. I was like, that's a pretty good icon. Just went with that.
No, that is a very, I've seen quite a bit of the Boondocks because it's not on the air anymore, is it?
Nah, nah.
And that's sad because they had some funny episodes too.
Yeah, nah. That's that's probably my favorite show of all time.
Really?
That's
Yeah,
yeah. I
that's a good one.
love the Boondocks. Yeah.
You know, I definitely, that's really interesting that you said that you do production and beats. I want to ask you about that later. Um, but one thing I wanted to ask you about, just as far as your listening and the artists that you like, and I know before you were asking me about what I listen to, but currently, like, what's in your playlist right now?
Right now, well, I listen to a lot. I listen to G Herbo. That's my favorite rapper. Listen to a lot of G Herbo. I listen to a lot of West Side Gun, or the whole Griselda really. West Side Gun, Benny the Butcher, all them. Like Mick Jenkins. He's like a Chicago artist. Not sure if you're familiar with him. His is like he does more like it's like more jazz influence. I like obviously I like Lil Baby. Everybody likes Lil Baby. Uh, like Gunna and all them. Who else? Who else? Detroit. I like Baby Tron's music a lot. Uh, who else? Who else? Who else? I like I like a lot of the newer Dreamville artists. I like JID. I like Earth Gang. It's a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of artists.
Now, I know you told me before that you were on the East Coast as well. Are you from New York?
Nah, nah, I'm not from New York. I'm I'm originally from Texas, but I live in Georgia right now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Nice. What was
yeah,
that like for school, for work, for family?
yeah. We moved over here. I've been in Georgia most of my life. We moved over here when I was 9, so it's
Okay.
basically. And now I'm 22, so it's been like 13 years. So, but yeah, we just moved because of my dad's job. So
Oh, nice. Do
yeah,
do you still remember do you still remember Texas and like did you like Texas?
yeah. Hey, I still remember. I like Texas. It's cool. I still got family out there. I still visit from time to time. But yeah,
It,
Atlanta's Atlanta's. I like Atlanta.
oh, you're okay. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. I said Georgia, but yeah, yeah. Atlanta, Georgia. A little bit outside, but basically Atlanta.
Um my company that I work for right now, I am contracted out to one of our clients, which is Home Depot, and their headquarters is in Atlanta. Um,
Yeah.
that's where I work remotely, but all my coworkers, they're all in Atlanta.
Okay. You live in Michigan?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. That's what the Zoom thing said. So I was like, okay. It
Oh
was like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, it said like Detroit time or something like that. So I figured,
I
are
am.
you from
Yes. Yeah. Born and raised in Michigan. I live 20 minutes outside of Detroit, west of Detroit.
there? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But my dad is from, well, my parents are from Europe, but when they came here, they did live in Detroit for quite a bit. So that's kind of where my dad's from. Um, but I grew up in I actually was born, if you're familiar, there's a city called Dearborn, just outside of Detroit. That's where like Ford Motor Company's headquartered there and stuff. That's where I was born, but I live a little further west now from there in a small town. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's
But
cool.
the weather though up here, it's probably not as nice as Georgia, I
Yeah,
bet.
yeah, nah, y'all winter goes on for we're in spring now. It's 80s shorts weather is nice over here.
Oh
It's
man.
still cold up there.
It is. It's getting better. Today was 50 degrees, so it's getting better. There's no
Okay,
snow.
yeah, that's always good.
Yeah,
Nah, but
that's.
Detroit, yeah,
Have you ever
it's
been to?
cold. Nah, I got family up in Chicago. It's extremely cold up there, so I can only imagine Detroit.
I actually think yeah, Chicago. I feel like it's way colder than Detroit.
Okay,
I
okay, yeah, that makes sense because it's like Detroit's more north, but I think Chicago. They said it's like the wind and the lake, something about the wind chill. I heard that's what makes Chicago like super cold.
oh yeah, I totally agree. I think that wind has a huge factor on it. I keep telling myself I'd love to move somewhere warmer, but I don't know. I get this is just kind of home for me, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah, got
Um,
time.
yeah, yeah. You know, it's so funny. I want to ask you this because I had no idea of your age. I guess it's just I assumed you were the same age as me, um, and I'm 31. Um,
Okay.
and I was going to ask you when was the last CD that you bought? But I don't like. Do people still buy CDs? I mean,
Never owned a CD in my life.
wow, really?
Yeah, my mom got a whole collection though. She got a
Dang,
bunch of stuff. But yeah,
wow.
nah, yeah. Basically, I I gotta go far back to remember a time when there wasn't Apple Music or Spotify.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I remember what was I listening to before Apple Music? Before that, I was never on like I was never on the Dat Piff wave. I guess I was too young for that. I had this app called Spinrilla. That's how I listened to music before like the streaming services got big. But yeah, never had a CD.
Now, what about like were you buying like albums or songs on iTunes and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. When I was a little kid, I think I bought a couple songs on iTunes.
What about did you do anything with LimeWire and downloading stuff off LimeWire?
Nah, too young for that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that takes me back. Because it's funny you mentioned DatPiff. I used to check. There was a point in my life when I was a little younger. I would check DatPiff like every day for new mixtapes that would come out. Um, Not so much anymore. I haven't been on there in a long time, but yeah, that was a huge thing back in the day. Was DatPiff?
I've heard stories about it, but I just missed it. did you watch Rap City growing up?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
More so like the highlights. I don't really remember it when it was on TV, but I've seen quite a bit of the clips after the fact, like the famous. And you're talking about like the freestyles, like down in the.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. That whole era. I like early 2000s music a lot. I like Jadakiss and Cameron and Joel Santana. Like that hell. I feel like that whole. I'm kind of like I kind of wish I was like old enough for that, but it's cool though. I could go back and watch footage and stuff like that.
Wow, those are some names. Yeah. Wow, I like all those guys too. Um,
Yeah.
have you ever listened to? One of my favorite albums is, oh, what's it called? It was the Diplomats, Diplomatic Immunity. I think their first one. So
Yeah.
such a good album from just top down. That's the one they had. Oh, that one song, Dipset anthem on it.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, I've definitely heard that. I definitely heard that album.
God,
Yeah.
great album. I totally forget about those guys sometimes because it's. I mean, they're all kind of older now.
Yeah. But still legends though.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know, do you think as an artist, like if you look at guys like let's take Jay-Z for example, because Jay-Z released 444. It's kind of been a while now, but I mean that came out when he was in his 40s, and I thought it was a really
Mhm.
good album. It's actually one of my probably my favorite Jay-Z album, believe it or not. Um, do you when you look at an artist, do you almost kind of wish some artists would not make music anymore just to like kind of preserve like the legacy that they did had versus hey just trying to just keep up and like keep releasing things? You ever think about that?
Uh, let's see. I don't. I kind of. I feel like I feel that a little bit with J. Cole. I feel like every album he's dropped is just like it's like me personally. I still enjoy it, but I feel like as far as his legacy goes, I feel like every time he drops, people just like I don't know. They just hold it against him. So as far as his legacy goes, I don't. I feel like, but I don't. I don't like. I still enjoy his music though, so I don't like wish he stopped dropping music. But who's some rappers who need to stop dropping music? Uh,
I might have one
let me
name for
think.
you. um I don't know how you feel about Game. I used to really love Game,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I
that's a
don't
good.
pay attention to him anymore really.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't his last three albums. I haven't even listened to them to be honest.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, that's a good. That's a good one. He probably and it's crazy though, cause like documentary too. That's what really got me into rap. Like that was like 2015, 2016. I was like a freshman. And before that, I listened to music and stuff. Like when Chief Keef was popping, I was like 12. And I listened to Chief Keef heavy, but I didn't like really listen to rap music. Like I didn't I just listened to like a couple the biggest artists and like whatever was on the radio. But then when I listened to documentary too, that really just got me into like looking into everybody. So yeah, really like that album. But yeah, Game probably he probably need to stop, go ahead and retire. Oh, Logic probably. I
I
don't know. He probably should have retired a little while ago. He retired and he came back, but it's like I
Mhm.
don't know. I used to like Logic way back before 2017, like 2014 to 2016 Logic. I messed with his like his first two albums, Under Pressure and then the Incredibly True Story.
Mhm.
I like those. And then I don't know what he's doing now.
And you know, I say that like I definitely appreciate these artists like still making music. It's just there's a part of me that's um still living. I don't know if this is like a it's gonna sound bad, but like living in the past of like, oh, their music was so good at one point. Like for me, if we're using the Game example, um, documentary and Doctor's Advocate, like two albums in a row that were just, I mean, they're known as classics today. And that's the Game that that's been cemented in my memory that it's hard for me to see Game in any other light besides that. But from all the other albums that he's released, just for me, it doesn't compare to those two. So it's kind of like, ah, like I wish you could surpass those, but it's kind of hard now.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, that's I don't know. That's a real thing. Like J. Cole raps about it all the time, like not being able to like rap like how he did when he was like still struggling. And it's like, yes, it's a real thing. For artists who can like for artists like a Jay-Z who can like get past it, that's a real like that's hard. It's hard. It's hard to make music. People consistently like it's consistently perceived as the same.
Do
But
you do you think that that is a big factor for artists when they're first coming up? They have the hunger to try to break through and make it, so they are, they're on point, they're dialed in, they're going extra hard. But then once they reach like an eclipse, a certain point, they sign the major record deal, and then all of a sudden they kind of scale back a little bit. Do you think that that is like a issue?
yeah, yeah, I feel like everything you achieve as a big rapper doesn't really like it it's mainly distractions that you achieve. Like they get a bunch of fame, they have a bunch of like women, they're doing drugs. It's like a bunch of stuff. Like they're being flooded with dopamine. So it's like they don't really have the motivation anymore, the hunger. And it's like, yeah, they just like it kind of need that. If you don't have hunger, you at least you have to be focused, and a lot of them aren't focused anymore. So
It,
it's like, yeah,
it almost seems kind of the parallels between that, and I could see that in sports as well. Like you have a great few years, and then all of a sudden you hit free agency, and then a team signs you to a huge contract, and then it's almost okay. Well, I got my huge contract now, and you don't produce as much.
yeah, yeah. That's the real thing. It's the real thing.
I'm trying to think of like a recent example of that. I could give you a baseball one. Um, there was a second baseman for the New York Yankees, Robinson Cano, and he was outstanding for the Yankees. And then he actually was his representation was Jay Z and Rock Nation. He signs with the Seattle Mariners, like record contract at the time, and he didn't really do that well on the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. And then it's like I feel like it's probably like the pressure when nobody knows who you are, you don't have the pressure to live up to your old music. When you drop a documentary, that's a lot of pressure to live up to.
That
And it's like, yeah,
yeah, that's a great point. In for the artists who are able to like just be so consistent throughout their career, like we've mentioned Jay-Z, but I think Drake has been like super consistent, and it always surprises me every um after every album he releases. It's almost like it kind of outdoes the previous album. Like I used to think that Take Care was Drake's best album, and then if you're reading this, It's Too Late comes out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is Drake's best album. And then Scorpion comes out, and I didn't like it at first, but then the more I listened to it, oh no, this is Drake's best album. And just last year, Her Loss, I think that's Drake's best album now. So
how did you feel about the Honestly Never Mind?
I gave it one listen, and that was kind of it. I didn't really feel it. Um,
Yeah,
what about? Did you listen to it?
nah, I didn't even make it through. I listened to two songs. I was like, nope.
Which was one of them Jimmy Cooks? Jimmy Crooks?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, not including that. I love that song, but like, besides that, I listened to like the first two songs, and yeah, I was like, nah, this not for me.
um, something though that even though I didn't really like that album. I can appreciate that he did something like really different. Um, I thought that's kind of cool, but it
Yeah,
just wasn't my thing.
yeah, yeah. That's how I felt about it. I don't. I'm not. I'm never mad at artists for like doing something out the box. Like you should make what you want to make, but it's like make the stuff we like too. Like you could make that, but come you got to come back with a her loss.
Mm.
So as long as you do that, I don't really mind artists like experimenting because I think Lil Yachty did something similar. He dropped some type of album. I forget. It was like inspired by punk rock or something different. But it's like he could do what he wants.
That Yachty album, I actually really like it. It is very rock and roll influenced. That I really enjoyed it. I was kind of surprised by it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people were surprised. Do you listen to like more like you listen to like rock music?
Very little. If I do, it's like old, like '90s rock music from like my childhood, kind of like Third Eye Blind or Sugar Ray, people like that.
Yeah, never heard of none of those guys.
Oh, really?
Nah, but yeah. I'm not really that educated on other forms of music really. Mainly just hip hop.
Oh, yeah. At this point, yeah, same. I don't really follow anybody else, but I mean, I am familiar with big names like Taylor Swift. Like I'm familiar,
Okay.
obviously, but
Yeah, but nah. But it's like I don't know. I feel like it's so many like different genres of hip hop that it kind of like you can find basically any other type of music inside of hip hop.
hmm.
That's how I feel. Like you could find that you're like more rockish type of hip hop. You could find hip hop that's more like jazz. You have more you're more soulful hip hop. Like it's so many different types of hip hop that I don't feel like I'm missing out on that much by not listening to other forms of music. But maybe I am.
What do you like R&B?
Nah, not really. I used to
Yeah.
like I produce, so I listen to a lot of '70s soul music because I used to make G Herbo type beats, and those are like the type of records you got to sample.
Hmm.
So I enjoy it, but I just don't listen to it on my own.
Okay. No, I used to I used to really like R&B, but I feel like I don't know of any R&B artists really anymore. I mean, I'm trying to think. Like back in the day, I would listen to like Usher or Trey Songs or Chris Brown. I mean, I know those guys still make music, but it's just something
Yeah,
I don't really pay attention to them a whole lot anymore.
yeah. People kind of say it's like people say it's kind of like dying. I'm not sure. I never listened to it, but that's what they say. Like what you're saying, they're saying like it's not that many like new R&B artists coming out.
Hmm.
So
The only guy I remember, I was listening to a Joe Budden podcast, and he dropped a name, Daniel Caesar, and he's really good. He's an R&B artist from I forget where he's from. He might be from Texas, but I feel like not too many people know that name. I didn't even know that name until Joe mentioned it. So
yeah, yeah, it's not. Have you heard of Jacquees?
I think so, actually. Yeah.
He's from Atlanta. That's all I know about him. But I think he does R&B. But yeah, it's not too many though.
Yeah.
It's not too many.
I have heard that before, that R&B is kind of fading away. I was watching one video, I forget who it was by, but they were saying that one of the reasons for R&B fading away was not like the lack of a strong like male R&B artist. Like 20 years ago it was like an Usher, and today you don't really, I mean, maybe The Weeknd, like maybe Drake is kind of like that, but he's not really in that genre.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah, that's definitely. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know too much about R&B. I never listened to it,
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
Yeah. You
But
you, you had mentioned G Herbo. That's actually somebody that I've heard the name before, but I'm not super familiar with G Herbo's music. Is he's also from Chicago? Is it?
yeah, he's from Chicago. Yeah, yeah. He's one of the original drill artists in that whole like Chief Keef wave. But like over the years, he kind of evolved beyond that, and now he's like he's not he's not mainstream, but like he's big. Like he got like 10 million followers on Instagram. Like all his albums, they tend to sell from like they tend to do like 30,000 to 60,000 sales first week usually. So yeah, he's moderately big, and he's independent too. So
Wow, good for him. Wow. I got to
yeah,
check out some of his music now. Is G Herbo at all um does he have like a tight relationship with some of the other Chicago artists like Dirk or um Chief Keef?
yeah, yeah, him. He's cool with everybody out there. Like Dirk, he's done songs with Dirk. He's done songs with Chief Keef, I believe. Polo G, like yeah, basically everybody out of Chicago. So yeah.
I'm actually I know I had mentioned like the artists like kind of my top 5 earlier, but I last year, you know how Spotify does your like year in review thing?
Mhm.
Dirk was in my top 3 most listened artists last year actually.
Okay.
Love
Yeah.
his music.
Nah, Dirk. Which type of Dirk you listen to? You listen to like the aggressive Dirk or like the singing Dirk?
Oh, yeah. you know, I like both. I do like I'm trying to think of like a good example. Um I really there's that song off of 7220 called No Interviews. I really like that Dirk. And then like an aggressive Dirk song um would be like like Golden Child off of that same album, or Risky off of that same album, or yeah, I
Is
like them
Hellcats and
both.
Trackhawks on it? Okay. Yeah. I probably I like the more aggressive Dirk songs. But I like that song he has with Gunna, What Happened to Virgil. I really like that song. That's a good song.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that song a lot too. When I first started listening to Dirk, I was surprised at how good of a voice he had. And I mean, I guess that's why that's his nickname. But it surprised me that like I was not really expecting that. Um, it kind of like he could be like a Drake almost, where he sings and he raps. I don't know how you what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for the melodies and stuff.
Hmm.
I really I don't listen to him as much, but when Polo G first came out, I was a real big fan of him, and he does like the singing and rapping as well. So yeah, I feel like you kind of like it's not required, but the majority of artists these days do it.
Hmm.
Like yeah, there's very few artists is just strictly no auto tune, just rapping. That's
Oh,
kind of like it's kind of fading out.
I
But
auto tune. That's I remember when that first like people were making you would get like made fun of for using auto tune at one point.
Yeah.
But
Jay-Z had the whole depth of auto and all that.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I remember yeah, that song came out my senior year of high school, and then I remember Little Wayne did he freestyled over it. I remember that. That was God, that was so wild. And I remember going back to something we had mentioned earlier, and I just kind of thought about this with the autotune thing and artists like taking chances. I remember when Kanye West did that 808s and Heartbreaks, and that was seen as like something way out of left field, like it came out of nowhere. Um, so I appreciate again, like I appreciate when artists kind of do something like that.
yeah, yeah, it's good. Oh, cause you kind of older. What'd you think of the 2016 Double XL freshman cover? Cause that changed hip hop a lot.
Was 2016, was that the same one like 21 Savage was on that?
Yeah. So that was when that's basically when the whole SoundCloud thing started. So like 21, Lil Uzi, Lil Yachty, Kodak, they were all on that one. So like what'd you think
Wow.
about that whole era of rap?
I I remember there was a time where I was so stuck in my high school, middle school phase of music where I wouldn't give anybody a chance, and I used to not like like the SoundCloud era. But
Yeah,
over time though, I opened up way more and actually like I enjoy those guys.
okay,
Uzi, I enjoy XXX. I like Little Pump. Um, yeah, I like that era.
okay. All right. Just wondering. I don't I haven't really heard the perspective of like somebody older than me on that. That was like I remember that was like a big shift though.
Oh yeah.
That's yeah, that's a big shift. Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't like I didn't like everything about that. Like I didn't like the I wasn't a fan of Lil Pump and the Lil Xans and all those types of rappers. But I liked X. I like Trippy Red, some of Trippy Red stuff. I like Uzi a lot. But yeah, it was like yeah, it was an interesting time.
hmm
It was an interesting time.
it seemed like it came and went like so fast. Like it was
Yeah,
like by the time that I got into these guys, it was already like it was already on to the next thing. That's what I was
yeah,
surprised about.
yeah. I did a video about that. It was like I think I titled it "The Year That Changed Everything," but it was just like it was on 2018 because that's basically when it ended. Because I think uh, X died in 2018, and then like all the like that's when like Lil Pump and Smoke Purp and them fell off, and then the next year Juice World died, and yeah, it was over with. And then after that, it was like I feel like the landscape kind of switched, and it was like now it turned into like more gangster rappers. You saw like the Pooh Shiesties and like ESTG and people like and Lil Baby. Yeah, I feel like it just like switched. What people wanted to hear kind of like switched after that year. And then Brooklyn Drill took off in 2019, Pop Smoke and them. So it was a whole lot.
It I totally get that. It does seem like the landscape has gone back to gangster rap where like I remember at one point the names that you mentioned at one point years ago it was like the 50 cents you know it was Jay-Z was the guy. um I don't know if you would categorize Lil Wayne in that category as well. But the whole all of G Unit was
Yeah,
like super huge, and then it kind of faded with the advent of Kanye West getting bigger, and
Mm.
then Drake comes on the scene, and like you said, you have SoundCloud, and now it's back to this gangster rap era.
Yeah, it's interesting how things like go in cycles. But yeah,
Oh yeah, I, I heard. Do you listen to DJ Academics?
yeah, listen, I,
I like him a lot. I remember listening to him how he said that in a couple years, essentially like the landscape could flip again, and gangster rap is going to you know just cycle out of the main popularity. And he was saying how it's just due to rappers getting in trouble and
yeah,
facing jail time and getting arrested. He said, "Yeah, it's not going to last."
yeah. It's crazy. That was like my first video that blew up was like it was titled "The Real Reason Rappers Are Catching Ricos," but it was basically like I clipped that interview or that stream where he was talking about that, and yeah, I was just going over everybody like everybody catching these Rico cases, going to jail. But yeah, that's I feel like that's 100% right. Like it'll eventually everybody will get locked up.
Have you
So,
been have you been following that case with like the YSL case?
uh, yeah, I keep up with it. I'm not reading every single I'm not watching every single video about it, but I keep up with it.
Being in Georgia, is that something that is like more prominently uh, like available like in the news outlets and stuff being in Georgia versus like cuz up here in Michigan I honestly I don't hear too much about it unless like I have to like seek it out.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely it's on the news here. I get my most of my news about it from like YouTube, from really, you know Bruce Rivers' channel.
No. No, no.
He's like he's like he's like a 50-year-old white dude, but he's a lawyer. So he's like a board certified lawyer. So he like goes over cases and breaks them down. But yeah, it's interesting. That's where I get most of my news on like legal situations between rappers. But yeah, it's a big thing down here.
Um I didn't realize the extent of like how many different areas I guess that whole case touched. Like I guess I just didn't realize how big YSL was. Like I knew about Young Thug and Gunna, but it seems like way bigger than that. I could be wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a whole thing. That's YSL. It's a big group. The people they were beefing with, YFN and YFN Lucci and them, they were big. Or YFN Lucci was big. So yes, it's a big situation.
Mhm.
A lot of people. But yeah.
Speaking of cases, did you? I'm curious. Did you follow at all the Tory Lanez and Megan the Stallion case?
Uh, I really didn't, but it was everywhere that I ended up every all the podcasts I watched talked about it, so I ended up hearing it and stuff like that. But yeah, nah, it was crazy. It was crazy how that played out.
Yeah, I. You ever think about doing a video on that?
Uh, nah, I didn't really. That seemed like I don't know. It seemed more like gossipy to me.
Yeah.
It was interesting though how everybody. The interesting part of me, like academics, everybody was convinced that Tory didn't do it, and they really would have kept believing that if those tapes didn't come out, and then he literally admitted to it on it. So that was crazy. It's crazy how people will like switch sides, and really nobody has the evidence. It's all he say, she said.
It's so I was following Act during that whole during the whole case while it was going on, and yeah, I feel like I maybe was listening to one side too much, and I wish I would have had a more balanced perspective because the way that I was listening to Ack, it sounded like
Yeah, it sounded like he's being completely framed and her friend did it, all this stuff the whole time.
yeah,
She actually did it. But nah, that was crazy though. It's just from like a person scrolling through YouTube seeing like the progression from uh people were roasting Tory Lanez because he was 5'2" when the mugshot came out. And then Meg the Stallion got shot in the foot. Meg the Stallion says Tory shot her in the foot. Oh wait, Tory said he didn't shoot her. It was like I wasn't even keeping up. I'm just looking at YouTube titles and seeing this progression play out. I'm like, it's crazy. But yeah,
yeah. Oh man, yeah, I wish I would have because you listen to one person and it's you get like a completely different perspective. You listen to another person and it's complete opposite of that, and then here I am in the middle just trying to figure out what's
yeah,
going on. Um,
yeah.
what here's a question for you. What as far as like the videos you do and like the topics you do, how how do you choose like the videos like what you do videos on? Is it like just stuff that you're interested in, like you want to get more knowledge about?
Yeah, it's mainly stuff that I'm interested in, stuff that I know, or stuff that I know is like important, but it's not really that documented. Like I did the video on Detroit because it was like I wanted to learn more about it, and I didn't really see any videos on the history of Detroit rap, so I was like, I might as well do some research and like put it out myself. And then yeah, so I did that, and then that's the same thing with like the drill videos are super popular. Like it was just me. I was always interested in how the whole Brooklyn drill thing started, how they ended up on UK beats and all that. That was just always interesting to me. So I had looked into it way before I had a YouTube channel, and then when the actual when I saw like when I saw that it was like nobody else was really doing it, I was like there's like an opportunity for me to cover it. So
You know, I'm as with a lot of things, I got into drill very late. Um, honestly, it might have even been like last year. I started listening to yeah. I think last year was when I found out who Pop Smoke was, and um, I mean, I wish I would have found him sooner. Because yeah, great talent. I mean, I love what's it? Is it Meet the Woo 1 and 2? Are his?
yeah, that's what it's called.
I mean, they're great albums. And I guess I didn't realize that the origins of drill, and I saw your videos about it, but I always had assumed that it came from the UK here, but it started in New York and then it traversed over the seas to the UK.
Nah, it started in Chicago and then it went
Oh,
to the
okay.
UK and then it did come from the UK to Brooklyn. But yeah, it's like it's interesting because it's like Chicago drill. It doesn't necessarily sound like it doesn't really sound like the UK drill as much because it's like it was really like it's the whole UK sound. It came from like one producer called DJ L. So it's like it's based on and he like it's based on beats he made in a certain era. His beats didn't really sound like that after 2014. So it's like it's interesting how the whole thing played out. But yeah, it's big. So you didn't listen to Chief Keef when he was big?
Oh, okay. Yes. I did listen to Chief Keef. I went out to Target and I bought Finally Rich when it first came out. Um, So you would Chief Keef is considered drill music?
Yeah. Okay. So that's what you mean when you say drill. Okay. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's drill. When people say drill these days, they're talking about Brooklyn drill mainly, or just New York drill because now it's in the Bronx. But yeah, nah. Chief Keef was drill. Early Lil Durk was drill. The music he makes now isn't drill, but his early music was drill.
Okay.
But yeah.
What about would speaking of Chicago, would somebody a guy I've been listening to a lot as of recently, King Von. Is King Von drill?
Uh, yeah, he's drill. Like me, from a producer standpoint, like the beats he raps on are different from like what I know of Chicago drill, like early Chief Keef, Lil Durk, G Herbo beats, but he's definitely, I feel like he's like kind of like the new drill. Yeah, like the new era of drill in Chicago. So yeah, I say he was drill. The topics is definitely 100%. But yeah, as far as the beats go, I'd say yeah, like the new era of Chicago drill.
I've been listening to um, oh gosh, what's it called? I think it's called Welcome to O Block.
From the old block,
Yeah,
yeah, that's the classic. That's the classic album.
man, straight through. And that's how I always know and I really like on the album when I can just listen to it straight through, no skips. Just have it on at the
Yeah,
gym and, it works. I'm vibing to it.
yeah. Nah, that's a good album. It's a good album.
So now looking at New York, it is would you consider and I can't remember if you mentioned this name in your video of Fivio Foreign. Is that a drill artist?
Yeah, 504, and yeah, he's drilled. Right now, he's trying to go more mainstream with it, but he's definitely drill. He's definitely. It's like drill is like it's like a certain. I don't know how to describe it, but like it's like it's a certain sound. But even if you do it in a more mainstream way, it's like as long as you have the sound, it's technically drill. And then it's like obviously then there's like the like what you're rapping about, like ops and stuff like that. That's the other part. But it's like really everybody these days is rapping about like getting into it with their ops and stuff. So it's like it's mainly the sound that makes it drill.
Was was really like what was the moment that took drill music into the mainstream? Was it the rise of Pop Smoke in like 2019, 2020?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's really like it's basically two like what you're saying talking about listening to Chief Keef back in 2012, but then listening to Pop Smoke now. So it's like two waves of drill. What really the reason like it even got over to the UK to come back to Brooklyn was because of Chief Keef. So that's when it went mega viral back in 2012, and they had a whole run. G Herbo, Lil Durk, artists like you got Lil Reese, LA Capone, people like that. And then the second time it really went viral was Pop Smoke. And then that's when it's like that's what a lot of people these days that's what it's known as. Like a lot of people wouldn't they wouldn't when they think of drill, they know Chief Keef. Like you, they know Chief Keef, but they like consider drill to be like Brooklyn drill, like Pop Smoke and them. So I'd say Pop Smoke definitely like he's definitely the reason it's big right now. So yeah, it went viral twice, 2012 and then 2019 with Pop Smoke. So
I,
but it's interesting.
yeah, yeah. I was actually just earlier today listening to some Pop Smoke, and at least on Spotify, uh, you can see like his rank in the world, and he's still, I mean, ranked very high, like in top. I want to say top 200. 200. It sounds like, oh, that's pretty low, but I mean, out of everybody on Spotify, like that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. He's been gone for like 3 years now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that I'm really like I am kind of sad that I missed out on him when when that happened, and I found out about him so late because I've watched a couple interviews with him, and this is one thing that I kind of pay attention to with artists. And I don't know if you do the same, but I love listening to artists in their interviews and see how they carry themselves and not like how they speak and how well they can communicate. Because man, I love the way Pop Smoke just like handled himself in interviews and just that he was authentically like himself. Like it,
yeah,
I wonder like what he would have turned into if that didn't happen.
yeah. Nah, yeah, he was there. He seemed way older than what he was. Like he carried himself like a 30-year-old man or something like that. He was like 19, and then yeah, he had like the charisma and all that stuff. Like he definitely like he would have been huge. He would have been a huge star.
Oh yeah,
So yeah,
you're right. His I loved his voice. I mean, just that deep, resonating voice. Yeah, it like it stuck out from like anybody else.
yeah, yeah. That's really that's what that's what it. I don't know if you're too familiar with Bronx drill, but it's like I feel like most of them, it's like their voice really that makes people stand out because all of them are rapping the same these days. They all use the same flow, but it's like the ones who stand out, they stand out either like with their actions, like K Flock, or it's like their voice
Hmm.
and just they're just different from other people. But yeah, and then Pop Smoke, he had his own like he slowed it down like on the Welcome to the Party. Nobody was really doing that, and he slowed his flow down, and it was like it was different from everybody else, what everybody else was doing.
Hmm.
So between those two factors, and then the fact that he made hits, like, and that's all that combined, and that's why he really blew up. I feel like.
And now you mentioned Bronx drill. So is there there's a difference between like Brooklyn drill and Bronx drill?
Yeah, yeah. So, that's a future video topic. I'm about to be breaking that
Oh,
down later.
nice.
But yeah, so a sneak peek is basically the difference between Brooklyn drill and Bronx drill is one, the production. They like the trend of like I don't know if you've heard like they're like they'll sample anything. Like you'll hear like a pop song with drill drums on it. So that's something like it's not they didn't start it. It was people have been doing it in New York, but that's really what Bronx drill is known for. Like they'll sample anything and then throw drill drums on it. And then it's like it's more it's more like it's more disrespectful. They definitely like yeah, it's way more disrespectful than Brooklyn. And then what else do they do? It's like it's more of a like the scene is basically it's a more dramatic scene. Like it's groups and they'll be cool one day and then the next day they're like beefing and all of that. So it's more viral
Hmm.
if you know. So yeah, but it's like it's definitely like there's a clear difference between like Brooklyn and then Bronx drill.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I it's crazy to think, or to me at least, you have, when I think of New York City, I'm thinking of Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, 50 Cent, and the like the transition from those guys to drill music, and that's what's like super hot in New York now, and it's not really it's just like a staggering difference between like those previous names I mentioned and this new wave of music. Um, and even before that, I don't know if this was in a video that you had made that I saw this, but there was also, there was also ASAP Rocky who had a way different
Yeah,
sound as well, but he was from New York.
yeah, yeah. Nah, it's been like a progression. I feel like Bobby Shmurda kind of like he was one of the early. He kicked it off in the direction it was going. People say he started. He didn't start Brooklyn drill, but like he was like he took it in that direction. His music was similar, and then it kind of from 2014 on, it was like people started like it was more the gangster scene was going. Cause are you familiar with Joey Badass?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cause like that's like around 2012, around when ASAP Rocky was popping. It was Joey Badass. It was his Click Pro Era. There was other groups in Brooklyn like Underachievers. They were more like uh they were more similar to like the 90s, like the Nas's and the Wu-Tangs and all of that. And then yeah, after that, after like 2014 when Bobby Shmurda came out, like the Brooklyn just went down that like, that drill trajectory. And then it started like I think what I say in my Brooklyn drill, I said it started around 2016. That's when they got the UK beats. It was around 2016. And then from there, it just continued to evolve and grow. And then in 2019, it popped out and it was Brooklyn drill. But yeah, it was like it was a big shift from, but it's like New York was kind of like New York after 50 Cent. But he didn't. Well, he faded away around. What did you say? Like 2009 ish, 2008, 2009.
Th- that's what I would say. I know he had that one album, Animal Ambition, that came out, I think like 2012, 2013, something like that. But for all intensive purposes, I think the
Yeah,
date that you mentioned is very accurate. Yeah.
yeah. So New York was like it was like dead for those little years. But when he was gone from like 2009 until ASAP Rocky came out, it was basically gone. And then ASAP Rocky came out and he had his own. He didn't really people. A lot of older New Yorkers like criticize him because he didn't sound like a New York what they expected a New York rapper to sound like. And then you had Joey Badass in them, and they kind of did sound like the older New York. And then after then, it like after Bobby Shmurda, yeah, it just went down that trajectory.
And
So yeah,
I just fact checked myself, and Animal Ambition came out in 2014, so I wasn't that off. I was
okay,
close.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I didn't really listen to that album, so yeah.
I think too many people did.
it how did it do? It sold commercial performance. Oh yeah, not very good. First week sales of 46,000. Eh,
Yeah,
it,
it's not
I guess
too
not
bad.
terrible.
Nah.
Um, Let me ask you this: uh, how do you feel about your area and like the Atlanta music scene? Do you think it's still a very very strong presence in hip hop today?
Yeah. I mean, Lil Baby, I feel like he's the biggest rapper right now. But besides him, I feel like Atlanta's not putting out artists the way it used to back in the day. I kind of want to do a video about it, but I'm not sure. But yeah, like in the past, it was like from like 2012 on, it was just like you had Two Chains, then it was Migos, then it was Young Thug, then it was Future, then it was 21 Savage, then it was who was after 21 Savage? Then it was probably Gunna and Lil Baby, and then I feel like after Gunna and Lil Baby, I feel like that next new star either hasn't came out or isn't really gonna come out. And like and then the whole YSL situation happened and a lot of them got locked up and now Gunna's a rat and people don't really rock with him as much. So I feel like Atlanta's still strong right now, but it might be leaning. But then there's like there's a younger Atlanta. I don't know if you're familiar with like Ken Carson and people like that. It's like there's a whole different sound. It's kind of like SoundCloud. It's kind of like a SoundCloud. Like who else? Who else is in that thing? There's Ken Carson. There's like the Short Lonely. But it's a new sound coming out. But I feel like the traditional the traditional sense of Atlanta, like the Futures and Young Thugs and Lil Babies, I feel like that might be coming to an end.
Okay. Y- You know, I watched your video that you did on, and this was a video you did last year about, it was before the release of It's Only Me. And
Oh yeah.
I'm curious, how did you like that album? And like, how did you like it compared to My Turn?
I like My Turn more, but I like that album a lot. I felt like it was a solid project. It wasn't like it wasn't anything crazy, but I don't feel like it was a significant drop off from My Turn. It was like it wasn't as good, but it was still good though.
Now, do you think general general public across the country, do you feel like do you think they share the same views, or do you think people are very harsh about the album?
Uh yeah, it's kind of now that you mention it, I didn't really hear anybody like trashing it, but I didn't hear anybody like praising it either. So yeah, I'm not really I feel like I think it did like 200,000 first week again. So I think it was received pretty well. But yeah.
Do you at one point, you know, earlier I had mentioned my Spotify in review. Little Baby was again, in addition to Dirk, he was one of my top three listened to last year. Um, and I felt like he is he's the guy. I really felt like he's like the next guy to come up, and I don't know. I don't know anymore. I, just
Yeah.
being honest, after this last album, I mean, do you think he's still like one of the top dogs in the industry right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say he's still up there. He's still he's still big. Like the way I did my video, I was basically like, if he doesn't make a super make a hit, then he's gonna like fall off a notch. But I don't really. I feel like he kind of stays stagnant. I feel like yeah. I feel like he's still a huge artist. But I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like he took two steps back or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really. I don't really know who is like who who really replaced him. Who had like a phenomenal year? Because Dirk had the seven. What was it? 772 or
oh
7227?
yeah 7220.
Okay, yeah. So that was big. I don't feel like anybody had like a really like a breakout year with a bunch of hits. I feel like everybody at the top was kind of coasting for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
you got anybody you think is like gonna take off to that top spot and replace him if he does end up like falling off a little bit?
Um, you know, you know a name that I used to be really high on, and I don't know I don't know what happened, was Roddy Rich. And
Uh,
I think it was that album he released in 2021, Live Fast. Um, I think that's what it was called, Live Fast. I did.
yeah,
I wasn't a big fan of it. I
yeah,
Something about it just did not seem right. And he had like a run of Feed the Streets too. Please excuse me for being antisocial. Like tremendous. I mean, you couldn't have asked for better albums. I still listen to those today, and then it like the momentum just completely like halted. Now, I thought Feed the Streets 3 was pretty good, um, but I just don't see his name in the sphere as much as I used to, and maybe he could come back. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, I pretty much feel the same way.
Yeah,
That yeah, that Live Fast was, and the fact that he took 2 years off and then dropped Live Fast. That's kind of what did it.
yeah. Do you think almost like so much of the game of the music industry is timing and like when you release things?
Yeah, I feel like yeah, that's a big part. Because you can't like I feel like unless you're NBA young boy, you can't really saturate the market. But it's like if you take 2 years off, you're gambling because if you take 2 years off and you don't drop a good album, then like people are gonna kind of forget about you a little bit. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a balance in that.
I mean, if you take an extended period of time off, you better come back like Kendrick came back. Like you better release
Yeah,
an album on that level. Are you a Kendrick fan?
yeah, I'm a big Kendrick fan. I didn't mention him, but I listen to him and J. Cole a lot. Those I didn't mention them, but those are two big artists on me.
Yeah, I like Kendrick a lot too. I I'll never forget. I went to Target one day randomly, and I saw his album. It was Good Kid, Mad City, and I didn't know who he was. I bought the album just randomly. So I don't know who it is, but the album cover is kind of cool, and I'm gonna give it a shot. And I mean, I'm glad I did because that's one of my favorite albums of all time.
You just stumbled on a classic at Target.
Yeah,
Just walking through the aisle, just picked up a classic.
crazy. Yeah, I. It's just funny how things work out like that, and I mean, I've been following him ever since. Yeah, he, I like his I like his model too of like he takes long breaks and just releases great albums. Even this last one, but I'll be honest, even this last one, I didn't like it at first, and then the more I listen to it, the more I really really appreciate it now.
Okay, yeah. It kind of had to grow on people a little bit. I feel like the majority of people's reaction was like that,
Hmm.
and then, yeah, it's the fact that he left off on such a high note. Like he dropped "To Pimp a Butterfly" and "Damn" and took off 5 years. So it's like it's a lot of high expectations
Yeah,
for anything he would have dropped. But yeah, it was a good album though. I like the album.
but that formula though could be like a thing of the past. Do you ever look into stuff on like streaming specifically and how like basically how streaming works and like how artists make money or don't make money off their streaming?
Uh, I've heard Joe Budden talk about it, so I kind of understand. I haven't researched it, but I have a decent idea.
I was reading an article from The Guardian, and they were saying how there's a lot of they dropped some artist names. I forget the names they dropped, but they said that they're looking more so into doing short EPs, releasing like just like 5 song albums versus doing like a traditional out of like 12 to 20 song album anymore because they're trying to get their music on the playlists that are on
Mhm.
these streaming services.
That's it's a whole thing in itself. They're trying to get on the playlist. People are trying to make TikTok songs. It's a whole it's music is changing a little bit.
Oh yeah. And
So
like you were mentioning that you produce beats yourself?
yeah, I make beats.
Oh, that's really cool. Um,
Yeah.
is this like a hobby, or like is it like a side hustle that you try to like make a business out of it?
Yeah, yeah, it's a hobby at this point. I was trying to like make it into a career. I was like trying to become like a big YouTube producer, but it's like the amount the amount of time I was putting in compared to like the amount of beats I was actually selling, just it wasn't really making sense. So I kind of fell back on it, but it's still fun to do.
Yeah. And what or do you use something like Fruity Loop Studio, or
Yeah, yep, exactly what I use. FL Studio,
that's
FL Studio 20.
um in the I know you mentioned it earlier, like the style that you do is you like to sample a lot of things.
Yeah, well, that's what I did for my YouTube channel. I make all types of things, but like when you do a YouTube channel, it's typically better if you produce like if you just make one type of beat for YouTube. So that's the type I chose. I chose the sample type beats,
Oh,
but
okay.
I make everything though.
That's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, very cool. You ever you ever like sell any of these to like anybody that's like asked you?
yeah. Well, I've never sold it to anybody in person, but like I've YouTube. I think I've probably like sold 10 beats, 10 beats in my time. So I done sold a couple,
Oh, that's
made a
cool.
couple. Yeah, yeah. I got something to show for it. Like I at least I made back the money I spent on FL Studio and all plugins at least. So that's cool.
And like do you also do you play like musical instruments?
Nah, I want to teach myself how to like play the piano, but nah. I grew up in band. I used to play the trombone, but I don't remember how to play that anymore. I kind of remember the scales, but yeah.
Man, oh, I wish I would have. Yeah, I wish I would have learned how to play piano. I think it's a really cool instrument to know. And then if you know piano, you know, like you can pretty much play anything. From what I've heard.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that too.
Man, that's really cool. You should keep going with that. The beats and stuff.
Oh yeah, I still do it. I still make them, but I just don't really like post them on YouTube like that. For me, like I said, it just turned into basically a hobby.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something I do for fun when I got some free time.
Who's a current producer that like you really like or look up to?
Metro Boomin, definitely Metro Boomin. Uh, Pierre, Southside. Who else? Who else? Current producers. DJ Mustard. I guess he's kind of older now.
Yeah.
He was at the early 10s era. But yeah, people like that. And then I like the classic producers too, like DJ Premier. Uh, who else from there?
Like Pharrell.
Uh, yeah, Pharrell, Kanye, Timbaland, all of them. They all they all they all hard.
Yeah. um who else was really big back then? Oh, Scott Storch,
Yeah, you got Swiss Beats,
Swizz Beats.
Dr.
Yeah.
Dre. Dr. Dre was a great producer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree with I love yeah, Kanye's beats are I really like timeless. I'm trying to think of like a newer guy I like now. You know, I mean, I've been listening to so much Dirk. I love and I know he's not with us anymore, but Turn Me Up Josh. Love those beats on some of those Dirk songs.
Yeah. Chop Squad DJ. He he was Vaughn's producer, main producer. He produced most of Welcome to O Block. I'm a fan. He's really good on the piano. I like his beats a lot.
Okay, yes, I'm familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. That DJ on the beat, so it's a bank. That's his tag.
Okay.
Yeah. So nah, he's dope. He produced. I think he produced all the Crazy Stories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I like his beats a lot. He's one of the. I guess Young Chop. That was he basically he produced all the Chief Keef's biggest hits. So
Hmm.
yeah, he's important.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Bandcamp. Yeah, I like Young Job. Um, well, Xavier, this has been a great conversation, man. It's been great getting to know you. I know we're at a wow, we're almost at an hour and a half. Um, I guess. Oh, let me ask you one last question, just on your channel. Um, any any particular videos coming up or topics that you're exploring now that you've got like coming up in some videos that you're working on?
I'm actually about to drop one today. It's like I watched. I don't know if you've ever watched interviews on No Jumper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was interesting how things like played out over there. But I watched No Jumper. I've been watching No Jumper for a while now, but it kind of like fell apart. So
Hmm.
I did a video on it. So that's dropping today. Then I'll do the Bronx drill versus Brooklyn drill video after that probably, and then after that, I still got more cities I want to cover. I want to do Louisiana, like Cash Money and No Limit, and then all of that, Baton Rouge, Lucy, Young Boy, all of that. I want to do Louisiana. Who else? I want to do a video on Atlanta, but that's like so much history, so many artists. So I've been kind of like putting that off, but I'm gonna do that eventually. But yeah, those are some topics I got coming up.
That's awesome, man. I can't wait for those to come out. Um, Especially the No Jumper one. Wow. Yeah, I do follow No Jumper a little bit, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say on that.
Yeah, that should be an interesting one.
Yeah. Well, Xavier, thank you so much for coming on and having the conversation with me. Um, this has been a lot of fun just to talk to you about all this stuff that I really enjoy. Um, and for anyone that wants to connect with you, do you have social media like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any of that?
Nah, I need to make one. I just got the email basically.
Mhm.
So yeah, nah. Anybody watching the YouTube or anybody watching this podcast, I guess check out the YouTube channel. That's pretty much it.
Hell yeah.
So,
New School Stories. I'll include a link to it in the episode's description as well for people to check out. Um, and yeah, no, again, Xavier, thank you very much. It was great meeting you. Um,
nah, yeah, thanks for having me. This, like I said, this is my first podcast. You know, it was a good experience. You asked some good questions. You know, it was a good conversation. But I'm thankful for the opportunity to
Absolutely.
yeah, just discuss the culture and stuff like that. It's good.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you want to do a part two, you know, just hit the email.
I
We
would
can
love
chop
to
it up
do
again.
that. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, I think we should. Um, I'll reach out again. We'll
All right.
connect. We'll link up for the culture.
All
um,
right.
yeah, no, everybody out there, thank you very much for listening. My name is Chris. This has been Chee-Tash, and take care, everybody.